Wouldn't it be great if you were just confident? Wouldn't it be great if you didn't have low self-esteem or you didn't feel like you weren't good enough to do certain things? I'm telling you there's a way to get to a place where you could have a confident personality. Now, there are so many different benefits with confidence. I mean, you become more attractive. You actually attack and do things. You don't feel like you're not worthy. Therefore, you're not removed from different opportunities. And so those are some few benefits. But today I want to talk about things that you can do in order for you to become more confident. Okay. Now, really and truly, confidence stems from having a sense of faith and belief in oneself. And I've always said that faith and belief needs to be abundantly linked to this idea that there is something more out there. I mean, having a nihilistic view about life may not necessarily help. You need to believe that there is a grounding. There is something firm inherent within you that enables you to do more, have more, and be more. And so once you have that as your source, then that acts as the impetus to go out and do some of these things. Now, I've got like 13 different things and possibly a bonus at the end, so stay tuned to listen to that bonus. But the first thing I want to talk about is having a certain level of competence, okay? Competence and skill is fundamentally important if you want to be confident. What do I mean by that? To be competent is to be in a situation where you do things to a good standard or of a quality service. So you need to be in a position where you understand what it is you're trying to do and what good looks like. This is why I talk about high performance, because high performance is talking about a range against that standard or against low and high. You want to stay in that high space. And so be clear about what the goals are, what the metrics are in order for you to be competent and get to a space where you can develop those skills. Which leads me on to the second point. Knowledge is really important. You need to have a certain level of knowledge that makes you feel like you know what you're talking about. If you don't understand something, start with questions. Questions are the best way. Ask as many questions as possible, even if they feel stupid, even if you're ridiculed. It's better that you know you ask the silly question relative to not knowing at all. Okay, so asking questions is fundamental. Other things you can do is using the asking questions model is to use Google. Type your questions online. Ask friends, family, relatives. Ask different colleagues, people who may be in the industry. Don't be afraid to ask questions in order to search for specific answers. So once you get out of that phase, then you start to feel more confident. You only get out of that because, well, you know this. You've read it 1,000 times. You've heard it 1,000 times. You've said something 1,000 times. You've built that knowledge base. Really important stuff to really think about. In addition to the knowledge part, I want to talk about this whole idea of reading, okay? Maybe set yourself a book challenge. Maybe watch YouTube videos. Maybe listen to podcasts. Maybe do all these different things that help you assimilate that knowledge. The more you read, I'm telling you, the more you get acquainted with the thirst for this knowledge, the more successful you're going to be in terms of understanding certain things. You're going to feel confident because it's within you. You're going to want to speak more and say more things and help people because there are certain things that you just know from reading that stuff. But knowledge alone is not enough, okay? If you understand, I think it's the learning cycle, I believe it's called. There's the whole sort of, you need to have concrete experience. You reflect upon it. You may even think about it and theorize about it. And then you may test your theory being a bit more practical. And that's how we all learn. And we're a bit more dominant in certain areas. But remembering that means that knowledge enough is not enough. There is more to this game. The next thing I'd say is having a level of a practitioner's mindset. So you need to train. Training is really, really important. Get to a point where you can embark on something, okay, where you can be trained to practitioner standard. Because there is one thing, trying it out yourself, etc., etc. But there's another thing, doing things against a specific code or structure or pathway. So get some training, get that underneath your belt so that you feel confident and then you can start applying stuff if you need to. Now, that shouldn't hold you back from trying things anyway, but training is also a very good sort of like step. The fourth thing is practice. Practice makes perfect. I like to say practice makes pursuit. It's very important because everything is perfect by design, as my friend says all the time. However, with that in mind, it's not even a however, it's an addition. You need to practice to get to that state. You need to practice to get to a better version of yourself that already exists, but you need to prove exists in your reality. So practice as much as possible. I know in Malcolm Gladwell's book, he talks about this whole idea of 10,000 hours from studies that was done. Apparently it takes about 7 years to get to a really competent level or stage. I would say forget the numbers. Just practice. Commit to the cause and get really good at what you're trying to do. That's how you get that competence that I spoke about at the beginning. That's how you get that skill that you develop that I spoke about at the beginning. So practicing it is making sure that you set up the right systems in order for you to practice religiously. And so that's a mindset thing. The next thing I'll add to that is sort out your body. Okay? Eat cleaner food. Exercise more regularly. What am I talking about? Get rid of the crazy white carbs and sugars. That's draining your energy, making you feel sluggish or tired. Stop eating like high, heavy meats that is clogging up your arteries and all this kind of stuff there. Eat more vegetables, okay? Drink more water. Have more veg. I said vegetables already. Have more fruits, okay? These are all things that we can slightly change. Now, if you're dependent upon people cooking for you, then maybe this is an opportunity to learn how to cook yourself. Maybe this is an opportunity to get involved with something like, you know, those prepared meals that are passed on to you. I forgot what they're called. HelloFresh, that's it. I mean, for me personally, they're great tasting, but from a nutritional value standpoint, I don't think it's as good as you doing it yourself. Really important stuff. Avoid the sugars, avoid the sweets, avoid the chocolates and all that kind of stuff. Determine what you're intolerant to and possibly allergic to. That may be slowing you down. Because if you've got, you know, things that you want to get rid of on your body, that may be making you feel low. Go to the gym or exercise at home or in your garden or with someone or follow a training program. Do something. And I think the best thing to do is not necessarily think about the result that you necessarily want in the end, even though that can be good in terms of visualization and all that kind of stuff. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and real. But in the same instance, I think sticking to the habit is the more important thing to do. Just get into the habit. Right. How can I, go to the gym? Okay, maybe I wear my gym clothes to bed so I can go in the morning. Or maybe I make sure that my keys are on the desk so it's the first thing I see and I pick it up and I go to the gym. Maybe I put my shoes by my bed so again, it reminds me to go to the gym. So there are constructual or structural elements that you can orient in order for you to remind yourself to do these things. Make life as easy as possible. You don't have to be, Sergeant Major, sir, but this is your life. It really does help you become more confident when your body is on point because you feel different. And if you feel different, you do different things. The sixth thing I'll say is to get into a point where you're planning, okay? You need to be a strategist. So when you're thinking about strategy, that's the approach. It's how you do something or how you're going to do something. Planning is basically the roadmap, like an action log or a tick list or whatever it may be. Stop putting off planning. The reason why people are successful is because they understand the strategic plan that they're going to implement in order to be successful. Success is rarely done by accident. Do you understand what I just said? It's rarely done by accident. So with that in mind, there is a logic that stipulates if you kind of have an idea of where you're going, if you're doing things based on intention, aside your values or vision or whatever it may be, you're more likely going to get success. And if your plan changes, then change it up a little bit. I'm not saying do a 200-page plan. I'm not saying plan for the next 200 years like I think the Chinese do or whatever it may be. I'm saying plan for those things that you want to become better at because that will make you more confident. You have a roadmap. You're not having these questions unanswered because they are answered on the page. Yeah? So strategic planning is really important when it comes to building your confidence and self-esteem. The next thing I'd say is helping other people. There's something about giving back, and this may not be to everyone because some people are damn selfish, yeah? But there's something about giving back to other people that makes you feel like, wow, I did that. Some people may be like, oh, you really helped me out, or you're really good at this. Whatever it may be, that does something to you. And there's always this question of, is helping people truly altruistic or not? I kind of think, who cares? If it makes you feel good and it makes the other person feel good, why are we having this debate? Okay? not a philosopher. Well, I sometimes feel like a philosopher, but that's not the point. The point being made is, in context to this topic that we're talking about, it will make you feel better. Have you noticed that all of these different things are trying to evoke a feeling? Because we're all chasing feeling at the end of the day. We all want to feel like we're confident within our skin and we can be ourselves. We can be our true, authentic selves so that we can stop wasting time by the prisons in our mind and actually go out and do what we need to do. Really important stuff. The next thing is to not necessarily be cheap, okay? Here's what I mean. Or not necessarily be proud. Get a coach, get a mentor, get a sponsor, get a trainer, get an advocate, get an advisor, get a therapist, get someone who can help you improve the thing that you're trying to get better at, thereby making you more confident. Really, really fundamental. You don't always have to pay for this stuff. I mean, I've gone into the contracting space and there have been some amazing people who have invariably mentored me, okay? Really, really fun. And it's given me different insights, given me different visions in terms of how I approach my work. And so people make the difference. It's important to have other people who help you become better. So why not get someone who can do that, even if you have to pay for it? Don't be afraid to put your money where your mouth is. And once you've done that, you're going to understand the levels. You're going to understand what works for you in terms of paying for types of people and what doesn't. So test it out. Test it out and see where you can get to. The ninth thing I want to talk about is getting into the space of being comfortable with challenge and support, okay? So the best thing that helps me is understanding that life is one big fat experiment and I'm at the center of these experiments. I'm the scientist, so to speak, okay? Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And so with that mentality, it means that there's going to be a certain level of challenge and certain level of support that exists. What do I mean by this? Challenge is going to come into my life. I have to choose what pain I want and then stick with that. That challenge should be addressed through innovation, problem solving, critical thinking, all things that are useful to enable you to get to the next step. Support, however, is making me feel comfortable, making me feel validated and considering and empathizing with who I am and where I'm at. You need a bit of both for growth. That's what psychology says, at least anyway. And so recognize that you need to get the right level of challenge and support in your life. If you feel like you're getting too much support, see how you can get a bit more challenge. If you're getting too much challenge, see how you can get a bit of support. And again, this is relative to everything I've spoken about beforehand. What do you need to do to get out of just the comfort zone but avoid the danger zone and stay in the learning zone? The 10th thing I'd say is learning from your lessons, okay, or learning from experiences. So you need to be able to understand what life has done for you previously in order to understand where you're going, okay? You need to look back in order to look forward, as they say. And so if you consciously sit down and have time to do this, you'll understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you and what you should avoid. This is how we establish our preferences. And so just take some time to determine what life has told you so far. The 11th thing is to have life experiences. It's to try more things. Go more places. Speak to more people. Stop just speaking to your type of people all the time. I mean, in some ways you may argue that's what makes you confident because you're comfortable in that bubble. But if you've been exposed to different environments, then you kind of know what works. You're a bit more holistic by nature, okay? So it's not necessarily a bad thing to just stick to those biases because you can focus. But in the same instance, sometimes spreading yourself a bit more gives you a bit more experiences. It's about balance because I can see some people saying, well, in the same instance, if I do that, that may make me less confident. You need to see where you are currently in your life right now. Maybe speak to someone to help you out with that and then determine what is best for you. But invariably, life experiences are going to make you more confident because you have more data to go on to understand, again, what works for you. It's about training your mind in a way where this idea of introjection doesn't occur, i.e. conditioning of your mind to make you believe that these are your thoughts, but really thoughts from some dangerous past experiences or significant others that have made you think this way, but really you're getting your own thoughts. So life experiences are really important. Make sure you don't shy away from those situations. The 12th thing is reflection and review. What is your mind saying? Do you meditate? Do you pray? Do you fast? Do you write in your journal? Do you do free writing? Do you do creative drawing or painting? What do you do to really express yourself and understand yourself a bit deeper? Okay. Maybe you could do personality tests. Okay, you may be into the whole star sign or numerology thing. You may be into 16 personalities or something like this profiling. Wherever it may be, you need to find time to reflect and understand yourself. Take some time out to do that. You may have a mental health day or well-being day or personal development day every week, bi-weekly or month or quarter. You need to decide what works for you again, okay? But doing this really helps you understand how confident you can be, how you can develop yourself. This is all part of personal development, stuff I love talking about. And so think about review and reflection as a practice. As a coach and mentor, we're trained to really do this regularly. I mean, it gets annoying, I can't lie. Sometimes it does get annoying, but when you get into it, you really think to yourself, wow, I learned a lot during this experience. And really having the time to be introspective about it puts you in a different space. I think it's called third loop learning, where you get to a stage where you're just really thinking from the thinking so you can think, essentially. But all things useful for making you more confident. The final one I want to talk about is something I talk about all the time. And if you don't know what it is, then shame on you. If you're new here, you got one lifeline. And that is living by your values, okay? Understanding the things that are fundamentally important to you in order for you to navigate and make decisions that make you more confident because they're aligned to your Northern Star. If you look at your past, if you know what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to compromise in alignment to the experiences that you want to have because you've looked at your past, okay? But that shouldn't be the prerequisite only. Then your desires determine your destiny. Your values or decisions determine your destination. And so values become really important. So be clear about what your values are. Is it trust? Is it integrity? Is it commitment? Is it being happy, whatever that means to you? Is it working hard? Is it being ambitious? What do you fit into? Do you prefer to learn, or do you prefer enjoyment? Do you prefer ambition or achievement? Do you prefer learning? What do you fit into? Because that will help you make decisions. This is how we make decisions. Understanding what we value. So I think those were 13 things, and I want to try and throw in a bonus tip, okay? Bonus tip is to be very careful with your language, okay? This really links in with the whole review sort of side of things, because if you're saying things like, I can't do this, I shouldn't do that, I could do this, that's an opportunity to check yourself, because language really does form the expressions of your thought. It's all filtered. I think it was Miles Monroe who once said that what you see and hear is a small portion of what you experience, because your mind filters all of that stuff. And so you need to get to a point where you're slightly ahead of the mind so that you understand what it is you're truly saying, so you can start monitoring that stuff. And maybe you can get a coach to help you with that, so they can help you recognize those patterns, okay, those scripts and schemas that exist, so that you can reorient and recondition yourself to speak in a way that affirms you. It's about affirming yourself. This is how you become more confident. So hopefully this has given you a lot of stuff to think about in terms of confidence. And if you like more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.